Hey, Townies, I'm Phil. Welcome back. And I'm sitting here with Ken. We're going to have another little segment here for you. How you doing today, Ken?
Pretty good, pretty good. Day's moving on, isn't it?
It is. We got another one. I got a list here.
What are we working on now?
We're going to talk about BRICS and the petrodollar, which is...
Good deal.
If you look
I can't get enough of them petrodollars.
Yeah, right. Yeah, me neither. I will say this, though. Like, we both watched that podcast with...
What's the name from CIA?
Yeah, the CIA spy.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. And I can't remember the guy's show. Do you remember his show?
Sean Ryan.
Sean Ryan show with the CIA spy. And Sean Ryan is a former Navy SEAL,
Yes.
former CIA operative.
Yep.
And what they say about the news, mainstream news, all of it.
Don't believe any of it.
Don't watch any of it and don't believe it.
It's all propaganda.
Yep. And they sat there and you have two guys, the tip of the spear, CIA and Navy SEAL, flat out will tell you for a fact, do not get your news from any mainstream media. None of it.
Yep. All propaganda.
They're manipulating you. Do not get it from any of them. That includes Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, any of them. Do not get your news from that. And that right there proved to me that thank God for YouTube, right?
For now.
And these people who are out there trying to give you real stories.
You just can't shout out YouTube. YouTube, Rumble, everybody's trying to push free speech along.
Yeah, right. And, thank God for that because, I always believed that. And I still believe, a lot of I think a lot of the times the news stories are picked and chosen.
Yeah, the old AP thing.
Yep, for certain reasons. Right? They might not know the reasons, but the head guy's going, you're not running this story. You're going to run this story. And meanwhile, the other people that are way up there, they know why they're picking those stories versus the real things that are happening that they don't want you to know. So they're picking and choosing what they want to give you for reasons. Anyway, one of those stories that's been coming out is about the BRICS nations, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
Yeah, and the biggest thing about BRICS is them pushing away the petrodollar.
Yes, where they want to form their own currency backed by commodities or gold.
Well, they did develop the new development bank in Shanghai. Mm-hmm. That's, I guess, their equivalent to the World Bank.
Yes, so they are going to come out with one. We kind of know that.
Yeah.
Right? Saudi Arabia has, I believed, there's nothing in writing saying that I've seen that they want to join. They may be interested in it, but there's nothing saying that they want to join the BRICS.
Supposedly there's like 60-some countries want joining, and that's including Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico even mentioned that. So I do think that you might see something like that happen. It can happen, but again, it's going to take a very long time. It's not something that's going to happen immediate. They could release that new currency, which Russia already said they are more than happy, and Brazil said the same thing. They're more than happy to trade in the yuan, which is the China currency.
Yeah.
And they're going to do all their transactions in that.
And the reason that is because BRICS just passed the GDP of the G7.
Yes, they did. They have a enormous economy between them all. And if Saudi Arabia decides, because they get to pick, you have to remember, you have to look at it from outside the box. So outside the box is you're not an American, right? So what are the Americans doing? The Americans are flat out. They used to be the biggest purchaser of Saudi oil. We are no longer. We are also pushing green energy and to get off of the oil, which directly hinders Saudi Arabia's lifestyle.
Yeah, you tell them we're not be buying your product in 10 years, 2035, you're done.
Yep.
What do you expect them to do?
Yeah, why would they keep using the dollar?
Why would they do you any favors?
Correct. And they're going to go to the person who's buying the most from them, which is China.
Yeah. And when Joe Biden went to him and said, hey, could you produce more to lower prices of oil? Why would they even answer? You told them, hey, 2035, we're done. They would be jacking it up to the U.S. for
as long as they can.
As long as they can.
Right? They want to suck every dollar out of here. So what I have heard is a lot of fear-mongering about the petrodollar, right? So a lot of people think that, the day they come out with a new currency, the day that Saudi Arabia says, we're not accepting payment anymore in dollars, we're just going to take everything in the Chinese yuan, right? That people think that hyperinflation is going to soar and hit the United States like immediately, and the dollar is going to be worth nothing. Well, people are very, very uninformed, because that is not going to happen. You might have a little bit of inflation. The dollar might take maybe a 10% hit on its value. At the most, I would say 20%. So that means, we've had the dollar worth 80 cents before, 85. That's kind of normal, between 80 and $1.05, $1.10.
Yeah.
Throughout the course of its lifetime. But I do not think that we are going to have what these people are fear-mongering with what's going to happen.
What people aren't counting there also is U.S. production of oil.
Correct.
And we'll still be selling ours in dollars.
Yeah, like we could always not sell it to anybody and keep it.
Yeah.
We can do that without a problem. And if you've noticed here lately, because of that new pipeline that they put in, that they agreed to put in, which
in Alaska,
Alaska, that's why the gas prices have dropped so much.
Speculations have lowered that.
Yep. But as far as hyperinflation and the end of the dollar and all of that, I don't believe that.
You think it's just a distraction, huh?
I think they're just creating fear on purpose for whatever reason. I don't know. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I believe that, look at it this way. Most of the world has debt in dollars. So that means like 90%, 95% of the world's debt is in dollars. So they have to service the debt by paying in dollars. So even the entire world trade, say 100% of the world trade, 6% of it is oil. So 94% of the world's trade in other goods, right, is done in dollars.
Yeah.
So maybe it drops 6%. Maybe it drops 10. I would say 10% would probably be a realistic number for the value of the dollar. But the whole doom and gloom and doomsday and the dollar's over. No. The dollar is so intertwined in everyone's day of life, in every country in the entire world.
Yes, and that's why BRICS wants out of it so bad, though.
Yes. Well,
they want to get the U.S. out of there.
I don't think it would have been as bad until Joe Biden weaponized the dollar.
Yeah.
That's never happened before. When he told Russia, you are no longer allowed to use the SWIFT banking system.
Yes.
Is when that changed. Here's the thing. When you have the world currency, regardless of what's going on, you have to separate the two. So he should have never have done that, ever. It doesn't mean they wouldn't have came out with their own currency anyway, which
eventually, yes.
I think they would have. But when he did that, they hyped that up. Like they're pushing for it quicker. And you know what? I don't blame them for that. I don't. Do I think it's going to be something that's radical that hits our shores and, devastates us and puts us into a depression and, a gallon of milk is $5,000?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Well, what people don't understand either, and I try to explain this also, the U.S. is a very, very rich country, and we are probably the richest country. Mm-hmm. When famines and all hit other countries, we won't see it like that here.
No, you're not going to see that here. Not only that, but let's look at it from another point of view. Warren Buffett, and I like what he says. He says, if you don't know anything about the stock market, he's like, I'm going to tell you what you do with your money. He's like, you could get yourself an S&P 500 ETF fund, right? Which is the entire S&P 500 market. Put your money in there, just let it sit. He's like, it'll double, triple, quadruple over the years. Don't worry about it.
That's a good idea for a young person.
Yeah. And he also said, and here's why. He's like, you're always going to bet on America. He's like, you know why? We innovate everything. So any technology that you want to have for your country is coming through the U.S. Until you see, he's like, have you seen another country innovate anything? Have any of them made something out of nothing? He's like, think about it. The automobile, the computer, the cell phone, all these major items that have changed the way the world is came from this country. He's like, no other country on the planet has done it.
Well, your silicon chips, especially the high-tech ones, they're designed here in the U.S., they're being made in Japan and in Taiwan. And then what China's creating chip-wise is all the low-grade stuff. Mm-hmm.
So there are so many aspects just like that, from chips to AI to, how we build bridges. And
it's being designed here in the U.S.
Materials. Yeah, everything's being designed here. So where am I going to bet? Where are other countries going to bet? They're going to bet in our stock market because our companies have innovated the world. I mean, they really have. They've changed everything, and they continue to do that. So I'm gonna bet on the U.S.
Yeah,
you know, like I wouldn't. People say you better go out and get your gold. You better go out and get your silver, which I do have a little bit of silver. You know, I don't have any gold, but I got a little bit of silver just for fun because I think the coins are gorgeous. Like there's silver eagle coins. They're beautiful coins. So I do have a little bit.
And some of that stuff people also forget about history too, though. People would stock up on gold. They confiscated gold in the past. I think it was like 1933.
Yep, they confiscated
executive
gold.
order.
Yep, right after.
It wasn't a law. It was an executive order. Confiscated gold.
Yeah, they took it. They took all your gold. And if you had gold on you, and you didn't give it up, there were consequences for that.
It's easy. People forget history.
Yeah, so I think that I will bet on our country just because I believe that. I mean, look at Elon Musk for an example. You know, he's sending people. He's making rocket. He has an internet that is across the entire globe that runs off of satellites.
Now, I think you're right on one aspect where a lot of it's overhyped, especially the parts where China. Yes, China is growing rapidly, but a lot of their stuff is still reverse engineered and all that. They're not innovating.
No, they're not.
They're stealing.
They are stealing. There is a big difference between. I'll give you a good analogy. You studied for the test.
Yeah.
I didn't, and I copied from you.
Yeah.
Right? Now we have to apply what we learned. Right? You can do it. I can't.
I mean, I seen an interesting thing not long ago on Chinese AI where they're actually developing their Navy now with the AI, and the ships are being done, the engineering side of it's being done a lot faster than the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I believe
but
that.
You know they stole that AI somewhere.
Oh, they steal everything. You know, that's their MO. They steal everything. Because when you have a population that's suppressed, where's your innovative? Where are you innovative?
And
you're not.
That comes back to their fighters. Their fighters, most of it's reverse engineered Russian stuff, and I think they're still plagued with engine issues today because they just cannot make the products.
Yes.
You know, the turbines inside the engines just.
So I bet on the United States, even if the petrodollar's gone, right? I bet if the petrodollar's gone, they could have 30 freaking countries in the BRICS nations. I don't care because I still will bet on our country because our country innovates everything. Mm-hmm. Everything comes out of here, which means
for now.
Yeah, for now.
We got to wait for AI.
Yeah, for now. But that means all the American companies are still going to do phenomenal. Yeah. Like your Teslas, your Microsoft, your Apples, all of those companies.
But once they swipe AI that regenerates itself and repairs itself, then it's a whole different ballgame again.
It is. It will be. But you still, I don't know everything about AI, that's for sure. But I don't know.
Think we ever will.
I don't think it can create.
Well, apparently it creates itself, though. It improves itself.
It does, but I don't know. Like, you're not going to see it make a Picasso. It could copy it, but it's not going to make it, from nothing.
When you give the engineering plans or tell it to develop engineering plans for a new tank, a new fighter, a new engine, that is the stuff that we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I agree. I still think that's going to be a human, a person. And I think that,
or how to hack into a country's electrical grid.
Well, it could probably do that without a problem. I'm thinking it could do that without a problem, which is vulnerable for us. I would be more. I'm more concerned about our electrical grid going down than I am ever going to be about the petrodollar, because the electrical grid going down puts us into a third world country.
Well, what's funny about all that, if you think that if they're attacking the petrodollar or attacking the electrical grid, or if it's just like TikTok using psychological warfare,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is really warfare nowadays?
Propaganda.
But I mean, yes, there is an actual static war with Russia and Ukraine. You know that. You have missiles, guns. Mm-hmm. But what nowadays would you declare a war for?
I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to declare a war anymore. You can just, comes back to that podcast we watched where everything's done covertly.
Yeah, covertly.
Everything's done covertly and deniability.
Yeah. So if our whole power grid goes down, we can't point fingers.
Yeah, we can't point fingers.
We can't launch a missile.
You will never see nuclear missiles come flying overhead. Oh, I can't say never.
So if they do figure out a way and we don't know what they're doing, they collapse the petrodollar. We'll never know.
Right? Well, we know who'll do. We know who's going to do that with the petrodollar. The petrodollar is going to be the BRICS nations and whoever wants to join that group, if they let them join that group, and they might not let them.
The reason I bring all that up is go back to World War II. Mm-hmm. The Japanese They couldn't get rubber. They couldn't get oil.
Yes.
And there was your first strike on the pearl.
Yeah. So here's the big thing with China. So 50% of their exports, right? 50% of the exports, what they produce and export out of their country, goes to the NATO countries. 50% of their imports, things they have to survive, comes from NATO countries.
A large part of that is food.
Yes. So if you really piss off NATO and you piss off the United States, at some point, the president could say, as of right now, I'm going to issue an executive order that we are no longer doing business with China. And if that happens, China, they're not, I have a hard, they're a first world country.
Yeah.
They will not
Well, they're emerging, let's say that.
Yeah, they're emerging. But the day that he signs that, within 48 hours, 72 hours, they are now a third world country.
I think I read somewhere, if you cut all food going off into China, it'd be 3 months before their population starts.
Yeah, so China has to be very careful on how they handle the United States. We also have to be careful on how we handle them, because they make a lot of things that we need. They make our drugs.
Yeah.
You know, they make a lot. They make a lot of.
We all know. Just walk in Walmart.
Yeah, they make a lot of stuff. So until, what could we do without?
I mean, Walmart might as well have a sign, sponsored by China.
Yes. So we would have to actually, they would actually have to sit down some of these large corporations and say, you need to make enough you need to start making it here or in other countries so we can actually not lose our supply chain. Which I will say this, COVID has shown the weaknesses in the world trade. And I will say our country has been, and our businesses.
They're trying to fix that.
Yeah, and our corporations have been like, Apple's a good one. Hey, we can't get you've been shut down for so long, we can't get our products. So we're going to have, they started moving manufacturing to other countries. Now. And that's a good thing. So when it comes time, or if it ever comes time to pull the trigger on China, we'll be able to do it, and it'll be seamless.
Well, and it's a lot of stuff I don't think people, when we start talking to that kind of stuff, everybody thought Ukraine would fall in 15 days, and look, it's still there. And if you bring up that thing about imports and exports, if China goes to take Taiwan or such,
I don't care if they take it.
I know, but if say it lasts longer than 3 months, there might be their issue right there. They better do it within 3 months.
Yeah, that's true.
If they're not getting food in, I mean, you're feeding how many? 9 billion people?
Yeah, 1.3 billion people in China.
Is that what it is?
1.3 billion. Mm-hmm.
Wow, I thought it was more than that, but
that's 1.3 billion. Yeah, there's a lot of.
There's more aspects to it than people think.
It's so.
So even collapsing the dollar, I think it would hurt them right now also.
Oh, it would. Yeah, it would.
Because all that export would be worth nothing.
Well, one of the other issues I have with that is if they come out with a currency that's backed by commodities and gold and silver, which is commodities, oil, gold, silver. What's your true price of gold going to be? What's your true price of silver going to be?
And oil.
You're right.
Because U.S. does have a lot of that.
Yes, we affect a lot of those prices, and I'm sure we manipulate them. Well, we do, because you look at those two guys from J.P. Morgan who got arrested and went to prison because they were manipulating the price of silver and gold. Yeah. So we absolutely manipulate those prices for our into our favor. I have a hard time believing, though, that any of the hype that you hear in the news about it, like I saw they did a special on Fox News about it, and it was doom and gloom. And I'm not buying the doom and gloom. I'm not buying it. I am not buying it just because you can look at some of the numbers and be like, maybe, maybe, right? Possible? Yeah, it's possible, but probable? No.
Well, that comes back again. Possibilities are not probabilities.
Right? That's correct. Is there a chance that hyperinflation could hit our shores? It's always a chance.
I think hyperinflation is more of the amount of fiat currency they keep printing.
Yes. And, and it comes down to this, too. The dynamic is so complex that I think if you could pull up the best economists in the entire world, which we know live here in the U.S., they could give you something close, but at the end of the day, they're going to say, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
And the one economist, I can't remember his name, but he talks about populations and the different generations and how it's less children now, and it's to support the older and all that. But at the same time, yes, you might have an inverted pyramid for that, but yet once you factor in AI again, is the jobs going to be available for the same amount of people?
Correct.
And And it's this whole thing with the oil, like you said, it's only 6%.
6% of the world's trade is oil.
Yeah, so I mean that's
It's
really
nothing. So the majority is probably food. Probably food.
I'd say food and raw materials.
Yep, food and raw materials. Yeah, you're right. Like iron ore, cobalt,
yep.
Things like lithium, things like that. I will say that the only problem that we have as a country is our debt. When you're $33 trillion in debt, I look for them to finagle a way to get rid of it and pencil whip it eventually. Because, at some point our politicians can't be offering free shit to people anymore. At some point we need the old school dad to take over as president and say, hey, the spending that we've been doing for all these years is over.
Yeah, it's unsustainable.
And we are going to cut everything, I mean everything, to get this debt under control. Because if we don't, we're not going to have a country.
Well, I mean, there's that great site you can go to, U.S. Debt Clock, and you can watch it tick in real time.
Yeah.
And when you're only bringing in like $4 trillion and you're spending, I forget how many trillion.
Yeah.
It's not hard to figure out.
Correct. So I think it's a combination of things. So when you look at the petrodollar versus at how the U.S. dollar reacts and interacts with the world, and then you look at America and the U.S. and how we interact with, economically within our country, plus our debt, I mean, there's always a possibility, but I think the probability is low that something would happen.
And then there's all the stuff that we don't know. How much
Correct.
How much economics are we holding over other countries?
A lot.
That if we do one thing, that country's going to collapse.
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot of those. Yeah, I don't think that.
I mean, you had Libya wanting to go back to the gold standard, and look what happened there.
Yeah,
it's just amazing how these things.
It would
happen.
also, so say they came out with that, and all those countries, all the BRICS nations, started using a yuan-based digital whatever. It's still going to take it years to get strong. I mean, they thought that was going to happen with the euro.
Yeah.
When they did the euro and everybody had their own currency in Europe, like the pound and the Deutschmark and, all
the lira, the franc.
And they went to the euro. And
drachma.
Don't get me wrong, the euro is generally speaking worth more than the dollar in value. Right now it's probably about even. It's probably pretty close. Yeah. But it didn't do anything really to the United States, because everybody uses dollars and everybody's in debt. Using dollars and being in debt for dollars are two different things. If you're in debt with dollars, you need dollars. Sorry. And it's been around for so long. It's been around for 100 years. Pretty much it's been the world's currency. So to get rid of it in a day or 5 years is difficult.
Well, once again, they just bring up China and how much they export to us.
Uh-huh.
We're paying in dollars. They don't want to stop that right away.
No, they don't. And here's the thing too. Just because they're going to interchange with them with dollars, 50% of their trade is from NATO countries, and the NATO countries are going to use dollars.
Like you said, if it happened overnight, all that exports from China, are they saying it's worthless now?
Yeah.
The money that that we have already in.
It's not going to happen. So when I look at the news, something's going on.
Yeah, just more fear mongering. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
it's all.
And it's not just that. Like when I turn on the news, like. I get on TikTok, right? I like TikTok, some of it. But the one thing I do like about it is that it shows you the France riots and the ones in Israel. And they pop right up on my news feed. And no news coverage is really happening with what's happening in France, like when mainstream media. Like you might get a tiny little blurb, but man, there's 9 million people in the streets in France. 9 million.
When you bring up France and you bring up Israel, what's the two things they have in common there?
What?
Both of them are trying to do stuff without getting it passed.
Oh, yes. Correct. The dictatorship.
Yep. Netanyahu is trying to, I forget what it was, something with the court system, I believe.
It was. And then he finally took a stay on that and said, we'll revisit that later because he had so many people protesting.
And then in France, he's trying to push that age limit.
Yeah, he changed the age from 62 to 64.
And that wasn't voted on.
No, he just pencil whipped that. It's almost like he did an executive order saying, hey, we're just going to change the age without a vote. Well, they couldn't get a vote to approve it, which would be what would happen here.
Yeah.
But 9 million people, I can't imagine seeing 9 million people in the streets. Can you imagine that?
No.
I cannot imagine.
There ain't enough tear gas.
Like if you aren't, I mean, I don't scare easily, but dear God, seeing 9 million people in the street.
It's put a halt to everything. I mean, even the trash is piled up. That's why they're sending all them fires.
The farm guys came in with the manure systems and were spraying it in the yards of the government. They're driving past, just shooting it in there. I have a hard time believing that.
Well, then there you go. That comes back down to these are people who are making executive decisions. Do you think that's what they're trying to hide then? With all this distractions.
I'm going to say we are not privy to the whole picture.
Never.
But when you sit there and you look at like your mainstream media and what they cover, why are they covering that?
Yes.
Right? And then number 2 is how accurate is it? Because CNN's going to sway it their way. Well, the Democrat and Republicans have their own news channels. They're each going to sway it their way. But then again, how accurate is what they're saying on any of it? And when you listen to the people who were the tip of the sword tell you, all right, you cannot watch mainstream media news.
They're definitely the Department of Misinformation now.
Yes, so they're putting things in front of you to distract you from other things, but we don't know what those other things are. I will say this, when you get on other countries' news sites, you get a lot more information.
Well, for a while there, I was watching Al Jazeera.
I watched that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I can't remember the name of the news network that's in Europe that does like a bunch of different countries over there.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good informative
Then for a while,
one.
I was watching Australian news also.
I watched that on occasion. The main thing though is with me is I just think it's got to the point where something needs to change. I mean, I hate to say that, it just does.
You don't know where that's going to happen.
No, I don't know. Honestly, if you introduce AI and 40% of the people lose their jobs, that's when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, you'll have from doctors, attorneys, and accountants to blue-collar workers.
When we say introduce, and they can go, like McDonald's, you said, get rid of all the employees, basically. That won't happen overnight either. It might be 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
Because the infrastructure's not
within
there.
15 years.
Yeah, the infrastructure's not there yet.
So,
but when you notice them start to build these places that will be like that, that's when you know it's coming.
That's why I say to invest in the S&P 500.
That'll be in the cities first.
Yeah.
It'll be in the big cities first. So people out in the country will have a little bit, hometown McDonald's ain't going to be rebuilt into a...
No, like my son worked there, and they went from taking orders at the counter to having a kiosk where you go up and just tap in your order. You know what I mean?
But them kiosks, I'm sure, appeared in New York City and L.A. first.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
So that's your time period. How long did it take to get to the country?
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
The only thing now is things are cheaper. More electronics keep getting cheaper and cheaper.
Oh, they are. Like a television? Mm-hmm. Dear Lord, is a TV cheap. You can get a 60-inch TV for like $250. You remember when we were kids what a 60-inch TV would cost you?
Over $1,000.
It was like $2,000-$3,000 for that big projection, crappy picture TV.
So when they put them first kiosks in that McDonald's in New York City, probably Times Square, how much did that kiosk cost compared to the one in Cumberland, Maryland?
Oh, geez. Night and day different. Night and day.
So
it's probably a 16th of the price.
Yep.
If not more, 1/32 of the price than what it is now. So do you believe that? Do you believe that we'll have an issue with the dollar? Tell me what you think. Give me your opinion. You got my opinion.
Yeah. I've been watching it closely, and my fear on the dollar is the mass printing. It's not really the other countries
giving out free money.
Yes.
Bailing out banks. Giving people stimulus checks.
Yes. That's where the inflation's going to come from. How much, I don't know, because it's like this. They say the inflation that the U.S. is in now is from the COVID relief.
Yes, Biden's.
Yes.
From when he took office and then issued another COVID relief.
Yes, that was
where
unnecessary.
Trump was not going to do it.
And now, that wasn't much in reality. How many trillion was it?
I think it was like 1.4 trillion.
Yeah. So how much have we given to Ukraine since then?
Oof, billions. Yeah. We haven't given them $1 trillion yet, but we're working on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
And I do agree with what that one fella said about what's the U.S. getting right now for that by giving them weapons was emptying out our old stock, being able to produce more, newer things.
But it's also practice, moving stuff.
Practice.
Logistics.
Yeah,
It's logistics.
It's all logistics. How do we have a war 10,000 miles away?
Correct.
Efficiently. So I agree with that.
And this ain't the same war as World War II. You're not going to be able to pile these ships up.
No. World War I is different than World War II.
Yep, we've all went through that.
Afghanistan, the last one we just went through, the War on Terror. This one coming up is going to be completely different than what all the other ones were.
I don't see him making all these cargo ships and just sending stuff over.
No.
Missiles will take that out easily.
Yeah. I do believe with what he said with the proxy wars, where you might see there's a whole bunch of reasons why he wouldn't Putin put a nuclear weapon into Ukraine. But if he did, it sure in the hell wouldn't be coming across the sky. It would be smuggled in by somebody from somewhere, from some other country, for almost kind of deniability.
Yep. They know where missiles are launched from. They know where missiles fly.
Let's think about this. Like a great example of that right now is the Nord Stream pipeline. Nobody knows who blew it up.
Nobody ever will.
Nobody ever will. You know what I mean? Like it happened.
Yep.
Nobody knows who did it. Nobody. Like here's a great example too. Did you see when all the electrical grids in North Carolina, South Carolina, Washington State were going out? People were shooting them with a rifle.
Yep.
So, we don't know who. Nobody was found. Nobody knows who did it.
Well, in North Carolina, they did catch 2 people in North Carolina.
Did they catch 2?
Well, no, that was Maryland. I'm thinking of Maryland, where they caught that man and woman that was planning to do it in Maryland.
Yes, they were planning to take down the entire state of Maryland grid.
That's correct.
And for those of you who don't know, Washington, D.C. is inside of Maryland.
Yep.
Right? So, yeah, they did. And the Governor Moore released that, new governor. But here's the thing. Is it terrorists or is it another country? So, again, we're back to
you'll never know.
Covert operations that nobody knows.
That you can't declare war on.
You can't declare war. Can't do any of that.
I mean, some people say we're in World War III now, and some people say we're in the Civil War at the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's why you can't define it. What they say, 3 is a static war, 4 is psychological, or no, 4 is electronic, and 5 is psychological warfare.
Yeah, different stages of warfare. Yeah. I do think that I think they're correct by saying that you're never going to see war like you did before.
No.
I mean, and for us to put troops on the ground somewhere, it's going to be very rare.
Yeah.
And very, very rare. Like you won't see anybody come invade. It's not going to happen. Well, you might see like how would we put it? Little cells pop up here and there for something like with the electrical grids or something along those lines.
Well, and then you got to also think about between the Cold War, the Soviet and the U.S. with the spies, this and that, with electronics the way they are, like they say about TikTok, it has all the information of every American out there, what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? How many spies do you need nowadays?
Not a lot.
The information's already been given.
It's all about
away.
data.
Yep.
Data collection. And you can collect it like nothing.
Yep.
Like I saw one interview with a guy. He goes, you can power off your phone and I can still look it through your camera.
Yep.
Because you can even take the battery out.
Yep.
And I can still look through your camera and I can still listen to you.
And it's still tracking.
And he sat there and he said every chip has a designs in it to enable us to do stuff that you wouldn't even believe. It would just blow your mind.
And I'm sure the Chinese got it in there for everything.
Probably. Well, they can't really make their chips, so you know what I mean? Yeah. I think chips come from us. We created them. We designed them. We innovate them.
And once again, that's more complex than the human mind can understand.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, I back to the whole topic of the petrodollar. Don't buy the hype. That's mine. Don't buy the hype yet. You'll see it. It's not like you're gonna wake up and next thing you know it's 1,000% inflation. That's not going to happen.
Well, it's going to take a while for them to even start trading on the yuan.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a while, and if that happened, it's going to take years. It's not going to take days or months or even 1 year. It's going to take a long time because here's the thing. So say you're whatever country, wherever, and you're servicing your debt in dollars, and then you need imports from a NATO country, you got to get dollars.
Yeah.
You know, so
even though China is the largest importer of Saudi oil, how much is that on their overall?
it's not.
You know,
It's
how
not a
much is it
lot.
really?
Not compared to what else they're importing. It's not a lot. So everybody's getting a little bent out of shape,
But
I think.
but how much is Saudis really making if they were taking Taiwan? How much are they really benefiting from that? Because they're kind of stuck with it at the point, ain't they?
Yeah, they're going to be stuck with that. Honestly, I don't think they're going to take it until they see how that currency performs.
Because once they have it in their hand, what are they going to buy with it?
Yeah. You got to accept it everywhere.
Yeah.
Right now, the only thing accepted everywhere is a dollar.
Yep.
You can go anywhere in this world and give someone a dollar and they'll take
So,
it.
I mean, here's a thought on that, right? Once you
Yeah.
accept something,
You're stuck with it.
you're stuck with it.
Now, I would say that I would probably see a multiverse model
Yeah.
with that. So I think they'll take the yuan, which I think they have
Now-
before
now would all the
in
other
oil
big-
payments, but they'll still take the dollar. They'll still take, I mean, think about it. They are a country designed to sell oil for a currency, right? And they don't want to use shitty currencies. They want to use the strongest ones. So, I mean, the dollar right now, the yuan if they want to take that, and maybe that's it.
I mean, maybe the other nations in BRICS would accept that currency for whatever they're selling.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody outside of BRICS would accept the yuan for anything.
Well, you hear it. And the thing is if any of the BRICS nations wants anything from the NATO nations, they got to get dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on. You know, so the hype is don't believe it. Don't believe it. You know, don't
Sounds
believe
good.
it. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Don't believe it.
You know what I'm thinking? What's the distraction? What are they distracting us from?
It's something. We just don't know.
Nope.
I wish we knew. I do.